Welcome to a special day in the arena. Hi, it's me, it's CGB, and guess what? Aether Revolt is here, KALADESH is here, Full Standard is here, and with it, some changes to the arena client that we can get excited about. You'll see little visual updates all over the place, such as the look of this wild card counter. And you'll also see a variety of events. Quick Constructed is now the main event in the big box over here, but there are now things like Competitive Constructed, which, as it says here, lets you play with sideboards, best of 3 matches with a deck and a sideboard. So that is new. All right. Also, Draft is now available not just on the weekends, but 24/7. And there's Competitive Draft, which is sideboard and best of 3 as well. You play until you reach 5 matches won or 2 matches lost. For more information on this, Magic has a state of the beta on the arena forums, and you can read all about the different formats that have come out. And there will probably be plenty of great YouTube content from the likes of Primal Hunt Cheeks and Noxious, Professor Nox, and Merchant to fill you in on all of these wonderful things, and they do a great job of it. I'm primarily going to stick to doing quests for the YouTube audience and showing off a different deck every time if I can, to try to get a lot of variety on the stream. It seems to be what you guys, I say the stream, on the channel, that seems to be what you guys are looking for, is variety. And in the spirit of variety, today's quest is 20 blue or white spells. So we're going to play blue-white control. Just kidding, we're not. We've played that a few times, and like I said, you like variety. I have learned this. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes in Magic. Now, what we're going to play is Blue-White God-Pharaoh's Gift. Before I introduce the deck, I'm going to share some information. I'm going to play a few games, complete my quest. Then what I'm going to do is talk through a bunch of what I think will be the popular new decks in the meta now that KALADESH has arrived and now that Standard is a full-blown thing. So if you want to hear me just ramble about a bunch of these decks, stay tuned for after the gameplay. Make sure you hang in there. But we're going to talk about the deck quickly like we usually do and get right into gameplay with Blue-White God-Pharaoh's Gift. So unlike the Red-Blue God-Pharaoh's Gift, where the object is to fill your graveyard with a bunch of creatures and use Gate to the Afterlife to get your gift into play, we're going to do something different. Now this is a decent card, and for only 5 mana you can have your God-Pharaoh's Gift, plus you get the gain life and the looting. The thing is, you have to have 6 creatures for this to work in your graveyard. Now that means you have to play a lot of creatures. What if you want to play a little bit differently? Well, there's another way to cheat, unquote, your God-Pharaoh's Gift into play early, and that's this card, Refurbish, which says return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This card has not been available to us in Arena until today, so we're going to put that to work. So the new objective is not to fill our graveyard with 6 creatures and sacrifice a Gate to the Afterlife. The objective of this deck is to discard a God-Pharaoh's Gift. So we run the full 4, or mill a God-Pharaoh's Gift into the graveyard, and then for 4 mana cast Refurbish and get it back, and then start doing things. We don't run the Combat Celebrant combo. It doesn't really work in this style of deck because we don't want those cluttering up our hand. But instead, what we're going to be getting back with our God-Pharaoh's Gifts are big, awesome angels and cards that have awesome value when they enter the battlefield, like Angel of Invention and Lyra Dawnbringer. Awesome cards to get back. The rest of the way, we kind of look like a funky blue-white control deck. So down here on the beginning, we have Minister of Inquiries. This is a new card out of KALADESH, and it, for an energy, puts the top 3 cards of a library into the graveyard. We plan to target ourselves with this card and hopefully get that God-Pharaoh's Gift into the graveyard. Then we have Walking Ballista, which is interesting and doesn't quite fit on first glance, but this is just a great card that can be in any deck. This deck can play a long game if the God-Pharaoh's Gift is answered, and sometimes Walking Ballista helps with that. Sometimes you just need a creature in your graveyard, and for 0 you play this Walking Ballista. You can get it back as a 4/4 and then add counters to it later. Blink of an Eye is just kind of a filler, a stopper, a way to get your God-Pharaoh's Gift out from under an Ixalan's Binding, things like that. And Chart a Course is here to, of course, draw 2 cards and discard, yep, a God-Pharaoh's Gift. Then we have Search for Azcanta, which can help mill a God-Pharaoh's Gift. This deck could also run Strategic Planning, but I think and that would be a very much more combo-focusy thing. I think we needed a few answers to the format at large. So those spots right now are taken by Cast Out and a Fumigate, which is another new card from the recent set. Destroy all creatures, gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. Then there's, of course, Champion of Wits holding the deck together, and a Sunscourge Champion, because those red decks, sometimes you need that little life spurt before you get to your Angel of Invention. Mana is just straightforward blue-white lands, no brown lands to make sure that everything runs nice and smooth, and 2 Rivulets because sometimes you need to mill yourself. All right. The new meta has added a lot of good blue cards and a lot of good red cards. So far, I've run up against a number of different decks, but there have been a pretty high amount of red aggro and blue control, so let's expect it. You may notice a lot of different sound effects and music. I kind of miss my dun 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 dun, like my get pumped music that played as we entered the battlefield queue. It's kind of funny that I let that run for the credits of my last video, since now that music is potentially gone. Ooh. What a strange hand. I think I have to take a mulligan here, and I'm glad I did. All right, we can definitely keep this. It's a little slow. We're going to need some proactive cards. I think I need to bottom this, which is unfortunate. I will want one, but I don't think I want one now. I think I want to be a little more assertive. So our opponent leads on a forest. Let's see what kind of green deck they've brought to the table. The only green deck I've run into so far is mono green Stompy, which has a lot of vehicles. And it looks like a little bit of green-red. So let's launch the search for Azcanta. It's tempting to just chart a course there, but since we don't have any pieces of the combo, it's very unlikely that we'll just find a God-Pharaoh's Gift, discard it, and then find a way to get a creature into our yard anytime soon. So the sooner we start using the search to mill, the better. Because it looks like we're going to be playing a slow, clunky game. And our opponent's probably like, oh no, it's blue-white control. Don't worry, I'm not countering a thing. I think I'll take you. I may need to shut down whatever my opponent is using the Huntmaster with. The question is, do we let our opponent play something this turn, take a bump from it, and then have Blink of an Eye and Cast Out for next turn? I think we do. I think we want this chart, of course, ASAP. And there is the God-Pharaoh's Gift. We can discard that so that as soon as we draw a Refurbish, it's game on. Of course, we don't have a creature in the graveyard yet, but since I can cast Lyra sooner than I can cast a God-Pharaoh's Gift, I think it's safe to keep the Lyra. All right, hit me with your best shot. Pat Benatar this. Alpha in the house. One of the neat new things with the update is that now we get rewards up to 15 wins. I made a video talking specifically about the update changes, and now they're in effect. If you want to watch that video, it's got a big red breaking news thing on my channel. Maybe I'll remember to link it when I'm done. I'm not sure. We can graveyard you. Now is the part where adding creatures to our graveyard is a good idea because the God-Pharaoh's Gift is there, and wow, right off the top. So we could get back the gift and make a 4/4 and gain 4 life. And then next turn, we'd really be hoping to hit a creature off the search for Azcanta. or else we wouldn't have anything to get back with our gift. But I suppose just having it in play and having the job done is a good play. And better than having to discard another card. We could discard the Lyra, but we're so close to casting it, and it has more power when you cast it, that I suppose this is just the way we want to do it. We'll just say no attackers right now. I'm down for blocking this Regisaur. We'll make our opponent pull a Savage Stomp out. Savage Stomp could make his Regisaur 5/5 and destroy our 4/4, and that would be a sad time. But if our opponent doesn't have that card, well, we'll see what happens. They could also still have a Charging Monstrosaur, which is a 5/5 Trample Haste, and that would go right over the top of this 4/4, and that would be sad. We're really, like, to run as hot as possible, we need to hit a creature off the Search for Azcanta mill, so we have something else to get back with our God-Pharaoh's gift this coming turn. Here it comes. I will block. Dino trades for the zombie. Opponent's timer running down. They'll have to make some plays. And it is Forerunner of the Empire, everybody's favorite. Probably getting a Ripjaw Raptor. Something with good enraged triggers. A Raging Swordtooth, okay. Well, that's really not that big. So we'll put you in the graveyard. There's an Angel of Invention, which is an excellent card to get back with the gift. Unfortunately, it's in our hand. So here, for this situation, I think we just slam the Lyra Dawnbringer and make our opponent find an answer. And if it dies, we just get it back next turn. Which, if our opponent had a Thrashing Brontodon, they definitely should have fetched that with the Forerunner of the Empire. Thrashing Brontodon can be sacrificed. It is a dinosaur. It can be sacrificed to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Could have destroyed our God-Pharaoh's gift. And it's a good reason to include Thrashing Brontodon in decks with Forerunner of the Empire. Our opponent's going to play Ranging Raptors. They can trigger their Forerunner of the Empire, deal 1 damage to all creatures, including their Ranging Raptors, letting them search their library for a land. It's a nice combo when you have things that you need to do with those lands. It's a very medium to average combo when your opponent has a big 5/5 flying first strike lifelink mythic rare, who doesn't really care how many lands you have. He's just going to smash your face. All right, search for Azcanta. Show me another creature. I would really like a creature. Opponent studying my empty graveyard. Another blink of an eye. And it's a decent card to have, but not really what I'm looking for right now. So we'll drop it off. It would be much better to draw a Champion of Wits. Much better to draw a Chart of Course. Instead we draw a Cast Out. It's kind of scary to cycle the Cast Out because having good removal is great against dinos. I think I'm better off just playing the Angel of Invention. Now we're going to want to put counters on the Angel, not make 1/1s because of the Forerunner. But it's going to also pump up our Lyra another point, so we can start doing 6/6 flying lifelink in the air. So 2+1/+1 counters on Angel of Invention. Something important to know, they switched for Planeswalkers and for many cards, they switched the side that the abilities show up on, which is very odd. Now, since this is a new card, we don't know if it was this way before, but if you are playing a deck out of habit, you will probably do things that look ridiculous, such as use Teferi to tuck itself for no reason, because they absolutely swapped like the locations of the abilities. So watch out for that when you are playing with the new update. Lyra coming in. Our opponent's got something in hand that can work at instant speed. Maybe a Magma Spray would have killed the Angel. A Lightning Strike, they could have taken down the Angel. So it's hard to guess what they might have. An Abrade. Interesting timing for that abrade, but okay. I suppose that happened. So now our God-Pharaoh's gift is gone. Abrade is one of the cards that has become much, much better now with KALADESH and Aether Revolt hanging out. Many more good artifacts in the format, making Abrade, in most cases, better than Lightning Strike. You can't, for example, Lightning Strike a Torrential Gearhulk. The opponent is hoping that we block here. If we do, not only will they get a land, but they'll play Raging Swordtooth and double trigger. And the double trigger will kill our Angel of Invention, so we will say no thank you. We can afford to take the hit because these creatures have lifelink. With 11 power of lifelink that flies, it's very difficult for our opponent to kill them. Here come the Raging Swordtooth triggers. We'll see if our opponent has another way to do a little bit of damage to the Angel, or if they're just going to resolve their Forerunner trigger. It would kill their own Huntmaster to do so. So there's definitely a cost, and they choose not to. Makes sense. An Angel of Sanctions off the top. Why not? Just draw all of the Angels all of the time. How about that? It's a good deal. Our opponent likely with only one turn to live. They have to answer all of these flying threats. You may also notice it's had first strike damage in the corner rather than the whole end of turn debacle from last time, from the last update. So that's a good change. We go to 33. Our opponent goes to just 3. I think we'll just take away their Forerunner and take away their enraged shenanigans. Lyra Dawnbringer giving all our Angels +1/+1, and Angel of Invention giving our other creatures +1/+1 makes the Angel of Sanctions a 5/6. So it's a very big body to have to kill to get back their Forerunner. The reason I want to take out the Enraged Shenanigans is a card like Needle Tooth Raptor, which every time it takes an Enraged damage does 5 damage to another target. A card like that could really pick off a lot of our Angels. Our opponent gives us the nice and leaves. You'll also see rank differences. There are now differences to how your rank is displayed. So you might have seen that I'm a silver rank 2, silver tier 2. So this is reset. They took away your master rank from last time, and then you played 10 games. And in those 10 games, it decided what tier you should start in. I had a very mixed bag of 10 games. My stream, you can sponsor me to play whatever decks you want me to play. So like for $5, you can sponsor a deck. So Mono Blue Mill was the sponsored deck, and I had to play at least 6 games with a Mono Blue Mill deck, which if you have not seen Navigator's Ruin, Fraying Sanity, and like 16 1-drop creatures like Siren Storm Tamer and Minister of Inquiries, well, let's say it's not the best deck in the format. Let's just be honest about that. So this is a good hand. We have a Chart, of course, and we have a Refurbish. We just need to find a God-Pharaoh's Gift. So that's the mission right now. And we did not find one, but we can discard, say, this Angel of Invention, so that when we do find one, we have something to get back. Now, it's kind of weird because Angel only costs 5, and we even have 5 lands right now to cast it. But you do want creatures in the graveyard. Here come the vampires. The Legion assembles. So we have our Champion of Wits, the first one for the day. This is definitely a card that we want to use. It's one of the better cards in the deck. It kind of holds things together. Against vampires, I almost want to cast the Ballista next turn. And I feel like I don't need all this land. I feel like that's where I'm overdoing it. Since we don't have a gift yet, and since we have 1 creature in our graveyard, I'll discard these lands for now. So, yeah, we have the Angel to get as soon as we find a gift and can refurbish it. But in the meantime, we have to make sure we have playables to keep up with our opponent's board. And here comes some of that board right now. I'm sure our opponent doesn't want to attack us with the Lieutenant. There's the gift, so we can discard that to the Chart, of course. All right. And now I wish I'd discarded more stuff to the Champion of Wits, but don't worry. Once we refurbish the God-Pharaoh's gift, the Champion of Wits can help us discard more cards from our hand. Do we want to play this Ballista? I suppose we can. Because we can send it to the graveyard whenever we want to. Walking Ballista, one of the most common cards you'll see now in the format, can go in any deck. It's a lot of +1/+1 counters, which lets you do things like target planeswalkers and target creatures and just kind of keep boards under control. Our opponent straight into Sanctum Seeker. This was a nice curve in Ixalan, but will not be a very nice curve now that KALADESH is around and powerful shenanigans are available. All right, our opponent sends the Sky Marcher. Might be a bit of a mistake as we get to block with our Champion of Wits, and that means our Champion of Wits is in the graveyard for the God-Pharaoh's gift, which is kind of a big deal. So, we'll start with an Angel of Sanctions, I believe. It's just a really good card to get back here. It has Vigilance. It makes some 1/1s. It has Haste. It has Lifelink. It's very powerful. And we'll create 2 servo tokens. So you see here when it's regurgitated from the gift, it brings out 8 power and toughness. And you can also put the counters on the Angel if you need more life-linking flying power. But I'll take the bodies against the vampires. It increases all your other creatures. So when we get back our Champion of Wits, our champ will be bigger, so we'll draw even more cards. 5 cards instead of 4 to discard. Since Champion of Wits draws cards equal to its power. Moment of Craving is the response. Well, unfortunately we can't actually, we can. So I was going to say we can't sacrifice the Ballista to prevent the life gain, but what we'll do is we will remove a +1/+1 counter from the Ballista and it will target itself. And then our opponent gains no life. Dusk Legion Zealot hits the table. I don't think I'm in any hurry to use my cast out, but cycling it's not like there's a lot of other cards I need either, so I will hang on to it. It's a good little emergency thing, and our opponent wants to bring over a Sanctum Seeker. I think I'll just take it. I mean, I don't really care with this much power, toughness, and lifelink. I can absolutely ignore it, which is one of the interesting things about the God-Pharaoh's gift deck is you can race. You can just straight up race your opponents all the time. 2 more servos, move to combat, get back Champion of Wits. It's now 6/6, so we draw 6 cards. 6 cards! And we discard a whole bunch of little bodies that we can bring back next turn with the gift, and that is enough for our opponent to pack it up, pack it in. So Silver Tier rank 1 unlocked. It's a shiny little glittery thingy majiggy, I don't know. And gold on the way. How's our quest? About halfway done. Now that we've kind of shown off how the deck works, we'll up the tempo a little bit, play it a little faster. Yep. We can keep that all day. Chart a course, chart a course, chart a course. Hopefully we get the time to cast it without being under too much pressure. When I see an island, I get the idea that that's what will happen. I'll probably have time. The one of Fumigate may not be good if our opponent's on a control deck, but maybe that's what we'll discard to this chart a course and just spam our threats. Mythic 5s. Lots of Mythic 5-drop Angels. Double blue. All right. May I chart this course? Interesting. Interesting. Most blue mages don't just fire their counter spells that draw spells, but some do. It wouldn't be the... It's not the first time I've seen it. Some people counter everything they see, regardless of what it is or why it is. This one doesn't get countered, and see now, the weird thing about that is I have information. I know that my opponent does not have another negate, and probably not a disallow either. Blue-white do nothing in full effect. Would you like to counter this Champion of Wits? Would you like to remove this Champion of Wits? Okay. I don't know that Minister of Inquiries does anything here. I don't think that comboing off with Gift is how we win the game. We kind of have to play this weird value game. I definitely want my last land, and I'm not sure if I want this Blink of an Eye at all. If our opponent just slams it to Fairy, that's very bad for us, but what can you do? Making him play it again won't necessarily help the situation if he feels good about his defense with just 2 lands on the battlefield. We'll probably see a cast out here. No. Our opponent misses a land drop. That's a welcome sight. Let's see if we can resolve a Walking Ballista, because then if our opponent tries to cast out or seal away our Champion of Wits, we can ping it in response. The other idea is we could just try to cast a Dawnbringer or an Angel of Invention, and if our opponent counters that, then we get free attack anyway. Yeah, and that's just a more powerful turn, so that's what we'll do. I'll go with Lyra here because I'd rather have the Angel resolve. I'm not expecting this to live or resolve. This one goes a little wider, which can be a bit more difficult for this deck to deal with. So since our opponent played the counterspell, we're not worried about the seal away, so we get in there. Our opponent decides to main phase a seal away. Since they missed their last land drop, I thought they'd have to let down their counterspell shields to do that, but oh well. So with this cast out, I think we'll pressure our opponent's counter magic. We'll say go to them, and then we'll try to cast out the seal away on their end step. And if they counter that, well, now we're in trouble because they probably have a Torrential Gearhulk here, but we'll at least make them have it. But the idea was if they countered this on their turn, then we'd untap and play an Angel or some other big threat. But since they drew their lands, well, they drew another negate in there somewhere. What a very strange hand our opponent's been playing. I wonder where they drew that negate. All right, let's make them have an answer for this Angel of Invention. Just make them have all the counter spells. And we will create the tokens, as going a little bit wide can be annoying. We have an interesting option where we could play these Walking Ballistas. They would be 1/1s, but I think I'll just wait till next turn for that. Since our opponent could cast out this Angel of Invention at any time, the Walking Ballista would immediately die. All right. Now we want to play cards first main. We want to try to resolve our threats to force our opponent to tap their mana. They'd likely have a Cell of the Wreckage, but if we get them to tap their mana, we don't have to worry about it. So let's see if we can resolve a Champion of Wits. We'll get to draw 3 cards and discard 2 because of the Angel of Invention. And we draw Refurbish. So now we can discard this God-Pharaoh's Gift. Now, do we want to discard the other God-Pharaoh's Gift? It's not a bad thing to have one to play from the hand, but it's also not a bad thing to keep building up our mana. But yeah, I think I'll discard up 1 land and 1 gift, so that if we do get to 7, we still have this to cast. All right, so now let's go for this. Okay, so now I'll attack with my Angel and the tokens. If my opponent settles this, we're only down 1 card and we get 3 lands, which will be very helpful. And if they don't have settle, we get in the most damage we could, which means it's a very good turn. So that was good. And our opponent's exposed a little bit. Now we know they don't have settle. They know we know they don't have settle, which means they have to find another way to answer all these creatures. Now they could be sandbagging it to get me next turn. And we have to consider that. But we have a God-Pharaoh's Gift in the graveyard. So if our opponent has a solution, they will counter this. So let's make them have it. And then we know they can't use a settled wreckage. We want to do that before combat. Okay. Let's go to combat. Activate the gift. We'll bring back the Dawnbringer. Pumps this angel. We'll move to attack. We probably want to continue being cautious around settle. This is a 2-turn clock and almost demands an answer, so we'll go with these. And there is the settle. So our opponent was being a little greedy last turn. In response, we want to shoot our Walking Ballista counter. And we'll resolve this. And we'll go get the lands. Lands will be very helpful. So I'm not even that depressed about it. Our opponent also used their last white source on this energy, but they're not playing another one, which is interesting. They drew one, but they're cycling. Perhaps because they see that they're dead to an attack, which is a pretty good sign. It's a sign of weakness for certain. So here's an Ixalan's Binding. What will the target be? It has to be a creature on the battlefield, and it will be the Lyra. Now we have a Minister of Inquiries to get back, which is a 5/5, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's game. Oh wait, well, we have another Lyra to cast, so it is still game. I was going to say it was pumping the Angel of Invention for one of those points, but now it doesn't matter because we have the Angel to play the repeat Lyra. Now remember, we can play it because Ixalan's Binding exiled the token, which is no longer under the binding and is therefore not preventing this Lyra from getting cast. All right, another one bites the dust, and the quest is complete. So, that's the blue-white God-Pharaoh's Gift deck. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a pretty fun deck to play. It runs very differently from the other God-Pharaoh's Gift deck, which is more like a turbo looting, throwing tiny creatures in your graveyard. This is more of a, one piece at a time. You build it up slowly. You get a little value here, a little value there, and you don't instantly win, like with the Combat Celebrant, but instead you just create very powerful board presence and power your way through your opponent. So that's the blue-white God-Pharaoh's Gift deck. I think it's a pretty average deck overall, but very fun, and you should try it out. Okay, I'm going to talk about some of the other decks you might encounter now that full standard is here and the meta is real. So we received a good amount of cards from KALADESH. Many of them were blue and many of them were red, or they really helped those colors. So cards like Bomat Courier. We received 4 of these. Chandra, we received 4 of these. It's really hard to believe that a new player wouldn't want to play some of these cards, since we have 4 of them. Oops. I apparently can't do which allow, disallow. I apparently can't spell. But 4 disallows as a rare, and then Torrential Gearhulk. 4 of these as a mythic. Every blue deck is probably going to want to play this for a little while. It's just a very fun card for blue mages. Flash brings instants out of the graveyard to recast. Just really good. Really, really good. There's plenty of others. Walking Ballista is a card you saw. Everybody received 4 of those, and they can go in any deck. And the Heart of Kirin is a 4/4 flying vigilance for 2 vehicle. It's ridiculous. Planeswalkers can crew it, which is weird. And everybody received 4 of this mythic rare. So it means that at least some amount of the creativity of the meta is going to kind of lean in a certain direction for a while. One of the directions is probably nothing new to you. It's blue-white control. I know people don't like this deck, but if you do, you might want to... I mean, this is what I would play right now. One card that we got that nobody's playing, but I just kind of have a soft spot for, is Dovin Bond. No, he is not as good as Teferi, but I really just want to give him a chance, and that's the reason he's here. Fumigate's the other big addition, actually getting to destroy creatures and gain a life for each creature you destroy, so that those big merfolk boards and vampire boards that just kind of attack with 1 or 2 creatures while they try to fight through your Settle the Wreckage, you can punish those now. It used to be that there wasn't much you could do to come back from that if you were the blue-white deck. Teferi would try to dig you out, but that was about it. But yeah, blue-white, still very much a deck, still very much a good deck, still very much a deck you have to deal with. One card that I'm not sure where the value is right now is Field of Ruin. This is a very, very important card against Ramunap Ruins, but now that the ban list is here, Ramunap Ruins can no longer be played. So while so many cards were added, some cards were taken away. Ramunap Ruins is one of those cards. And Field of Ruin was run in my blue-white as a 4 of, mainly because you had to take that card out if you got the chance. That 2 damage made a big deal. And now that it's gone, I'm not sure how many fields we need. Maybe we can go down to 2. We probably need some amount. Search for Azcanta is still a really tough card to deal with, but it's unclear how many we need. All right, so that's what I would do in blue-white control right now. You're still going to see plenty of it. Oh, sideboards. You'll also notice that now the sideboard exists. Still pretty hard to see it. But over here on when you go under sideboard, you can use these in competitive constructive events. So I've started working on mine. Don't take this as a definite sideboard to use. This is just where I would start. These are the cards I would start trying out from the sideboard. So again, this isn't the gospel over here. This is, I am by no means an authority on speaking of authority, I am no means an authority on what should be in your sideboard right now. I'm learning myself. Next up is red. I don't think that surprises anybody that people will continue to play mono red, especially now that they have access to Chandra and Bomat Courier. Bomat Courier is a crazy good card for this deck, giving it all kinds of ways to pick up value in the late game. It doesn't seem... Oh, you might also notice that the text no longer fits on the card. You have to use your mouse wheel. You can scroll up and down. So a scrolling text box. So they can make the text box as long as they want to on a card. Oh, the joy of digital. Anyway, if I were going to, I would probably do something. I was thinking about this change last night, so I'm going to make it now while I'm here. Hello? Oh, I've got 2 braids on the sideboard. That's why. Like I said, still learning here. All right. So I would play this, I would get your Bowmats, I would get your Shocks in there. I would stick with your Soulscar Mages because of the way they play with Goblin Chainwhirler. 23 basic mountains now that Ramunap Ruins is gone. Hazrats and a couple of Chandras. Some people I'm sure will play all the Chandras. Her voice work is awesome. I can't wait to show that to you sometime. This is Kari Zev Skyship Raider. Hi, Kari. Hey, Monkey Ragavan. You guys are cool. They are totally cool. A very good card in the deck. A Braid is just awesome because of all the artifacts. Even against control, you're killing a Torrential Gearhulk, which is clutch. I like Shock because it can go to the face. Magma Spray cannot. And I like less dead cards for my control matchup, which is one reason I had 4 Shocks and 2 Abrades. But since I've seen so many artifacts versus control, and since Torrential Gearhulk is now in control, I'm going with more Abrades. And then we have Kenras and Crashers and Chain Whirlers, and nothing else here should be too surprising. The sideboard's a little fun. A lot of red decks like to use their sideboard to be a bigger deck in Standard, so that's why you see that we have a Scavenger Grounds. We need an extra land to make sure we actually curve out. And then we have Glorybringer and the rest of the Chandras and the Rekindling Phoenix and a Pia Nalar and some Fight with Fire to just kind of go a little bigger for the decks that are hard countering the mono red. So those are the two things that you saw the most at the end of the last meta, and we'll probably see the most for a while. But there is another deck, the deck that actually did well at the Pro Tour. This isn't the exact Pro Tour, like a list copied from the Pro Tour, but it's kind of a composite. It contains many things that were present in the Pro Tour decks, and that's the black-red artifact mid-range decks. We got Bowmats and Soul Scars, but we also run Scrap Heap Scrounger, which can come back from the graveyard as a recursive threat. It is very strong. It can't block. Don't forget that. Then we have Heart of Kirin. We've got the Goblin Chain Whirler.